In a time when fear ruled the land and hope was nothing more than a fragile flicker in the darkness, a young woman quietly rose to change the destiny of her people. Miriam, the sister of Moses, was far more than just family. She was a prophetess, leader, and a steadfast voice of faith in the wilderness. Her story begins in the grip of harsh slavery in Egypt, where the Israelites suffered unimaginable cruelty under Pharaoh's rule. Yet, from these shadows of oppression, Miriam's courage and wisdom would blaze a trail toward freedom. What would you do if every baby boy in your family faced a death sentence? As a child growing up in such dangerous times, Miriam faced this terrifying reality. Every Hebrew baby boy was condemned to death, cast into the Nile to drown. Instead of succumbing to despair, Miriam chose a path of quiet bravery. She became a guardian, a protector, risking everything to watch over her baby brother. Her courage wasn't loud or boastful, it was steady and deliberate, a profound act of love whose ripple would reach through generations. How does a quiet guardian become a powerful leader? But Miriam's influence went far beyond this early act of bravery. She grew into a woman whose faith was unshakable, and whose leadership united a people longing for freedom. Standing beside her brothers Moses and Aaron, Miriam lifted the spirits of the Israelites with songs of praise and hope. She reminded her people and us that even in the darkest moments, faith and courage can light the way forward. Miriam's story is deeply intertwined with that of Moses, whose very birth was a miracle framed by danger and divine protection. How did a tiny basket on a vast river become the stage for an act of extraordinary courage? When Pharaoh decreed that all Hebrew baby boys be drowned in the Nile, Moses' survival seemed impossible. Yet Miriam, the protective older sister, watched over him with a boldness far beyond her years. When their mother placed the infant Moses in a basket sealed with pitch and set him afloat on the river, Miriam stayed close by the riverbank, hidden among the reeds, her eyes fixed on that fragile vessel. In that quiet, tense vigil, Miriam risked everything to keep her brother safe and hope alive, even when death loomed near. That image, a young girl standing in the reeds, heart pounding with fear and faith, is a powerful reminder that sometimes courage is quiet and unseen, but no less mighty. Miriam's watchfulness paid off. Pharaoh's daughter found the baby, was moved by compassion, and took him in as her own son. But it was Miriam's quick thinking and courage that sealed Moses' fate. When Pharaoh's daughter hesitated about finding a Hebrew nursemaid, it was Miriam who approached her boldly, suggesting that she could bring the child's own mother to nurse him. This simple but courageous act bridged the gap between two worlds, the Egyptian royal household and the enslaved Hebrews, and ensured that Moses' earliest years were spent grounded in the faith and culture of his people. As Moses grew, Miriam's role evolved far beyond that of a protective sister. She became a prophetess, a spiritual leader who helped guide the people of Israel through some of their darkest and most transformative moments. When the Israelites finally escaped Egypt in a daring exodus, fleeing slavery with the Red Sea before them and Pharaoh's army behind, it was Miriam who led the women in song and dance after the waters parted and their enemies were defeated. Her song of triumph was more than just celebration. It was a declaration of God's power and faithfulness, a public testimony that their freedom was a divine gift and that hope endured even in the bleakest circumstances. Miriam's leadership was rare in a world that often silenced women, especially those born into enslaved families. Yet she refused to be a mere bystander. Her voice rang out clearly and boldly, calling people to worship and reminding them of the God who had delivered them from bondage. She became a symbol of resilience and strength, a woman who stood confidently alongside Moses and Aaron as they led the Israelites through the wilderness toward the Promised Land, guiding the people not only with words, but with unwavering faith and courage. But Miriam's story also reveals the complexities of leadership and human imperfection. At one point during the challenging wilderness journey, Miriam and her brother Aaron spoke against Moses, openly questioning his authority and leadership. It was a bold and risky move, one that led to serious consequences and tested the unity of the community. As a result, Miriam was struck with leprosy, a visible and isolating punishment that reminded everyone that even leaders are accountable, and that pride, jealousy, and rebellion come at a significant cost. During this difficult time, the community waited patiently as Moses prayed fervently for her healing, showing not only his humility, but the importance of mercy, compassion, and restoration within leadership. After 7 days, Miriam was healed and reinstated, but the episode stands as a powerful and enduring lesson about the dangers of envy and division, even among God's chosen leaders. Throughout her life, Miriam's faith never wavered. Even when she faced hardship, correction, and moments of personal trial, she remained deeply devoted to God and to the people she loved. Her story reminds us that leadership is not about perfection, but about persistence, repentance, and having a heart fixed on a higher purpose. Miriam's prophetic gifts were recognized and honored by the community. She was a woman who spoke truth to power and lifted up the voices of those around her, encouraging others to stand firm in their faith and convictions. What is especially striking about Miriam's legacy is how she embodies the power of sisterhood and the crucial role women play in shaping history. It was Miriam's bravery and quick thinking that saved Moses, the man who would go on to lead an entire nation out of slavery and into freedom. Without her courageous actions and leadership, the story of the Exodus might have unfolded very differently. Her leadership in worship, her role as prophetess, and her willingness to confront even her own brother show us that faith can be fierce, courageous, and unyielding in the face of adversity. Miriam's life also speaks to the importance of community and celebration in the journey of faith. After the miraculous crossing of the Red Sea, her song and dance weren't just a moment of joy. They were a profound act of worship that united the people, reminded them of God's faithfulness, and renewed their hope for the road ahead. It's a powerful example for us today about the vital role of women as leaders of faith, champions of hope, and keepers of tradition. Her story encourages us to consider how we, too, can be leaders in our own circles, whether in family, community, or faith, using the unique gifts God has given us to uplift, protect, and inspire others. Miriam's legacy invites women everywhere to step courageously into their calling. Even when it's difficult or dangerous, trusting deeply that their voices matter and that their courage can truly change history. Moreover, Miriam's prophetic role points to a deeper truth about God's use of women throughout the Bible. She is one of the earliest women explicitly called a prophetess, paving the way for many other female leaders who would arise throughout Israel's history. Her story underscores that God's spirit and power do not discriminate by gender. Instead, God calls forth those who are willing to listen, obey, and lead, regardless of societal expectations or limitations. Despite the challenges Miriam faced, including her brief punishment and moments of conflict, her overall story is one of redemption, restoration, and steadfast faithfulness. Her influence is woven into the very fabric of Israel's journey, and through her brother Moses, into the entire story of God's covenant with his people. She stands as a timeless testimony to the fact that behind many great leaders, there are women whose faith and courage quietly make all the difference. Miriam's story also resonates deeply with women today who face moments of doubt, opposition, or hardship. Like her, they may need to watch and wait patiently, to take risks motivated by love and faith, or to sing songs of hope even in the darkest moments. Miriam reminds us that God sees our courage, that he uses our gifts and voices to bring about his plans, and that even small acts of faithfulness can ripple out and echo through history. In reflecting on Miriam's life, we are invited to embrace the full spectrum of what it means to be a woman of faith, protective and bold, humble and powerful, fallible yet forgiven. She models how to walk with God through uncertainty and challenge, standing firm as a leader and a sister, a prophetess and a worshiper, a voice for justice, and a heart of compassion. So when you find yourself in situations that feel overwhelming or when your faith feels tested, remember Miriam, the sister who watched over a baby on a riverbank, the prophetess who led women in song, and the leader who dared to speak truth. Her story shows us that God's purposes are often fulfilled not just through mighty acts of power, but through faithfulness, courage, and the strength found in community and family. Miriam teaches us that every voice matters, every act of courage counts, and every woman called by God carries within her the power to change history. And that is a story worth telling over and over again.